This is the Talkin Buds Football Show. Week 4 is in the books. Week 4 is in the books. Season's over. Season's over.
It feels like it, man. I can't believe it's week 4.
I know. I'm like settling in here, getting ready for the show, and I'm like, week 5. Week 5. Like, it feels like last week we were sitting down doing the season preview show, getting ready for a fresh new season of NFL football, and boom, just like that, here we head into week 5.
And it's such a shame too, like, because week 5 means that week 10's coming up, then week 15, then week 18, and I wish we could have like F1 style, like mid-season break, and then come back to more football.
Yes, and I love the NFL playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I love the NFL playoffs, but there's a bitter sweetness to it because red zone's over and like the playoffs, it goes by so fast. Like it's wild card weekend and you're like, nice, it's wild card weekend. And then before you know it, it's the bye week between the championship games and the Super Bowl. And you're like, that's it. That's the season.
I know it kills me every year because like, even that circus around the Super Bowl, I could care less about those interviews. Just give me more football. Even the Pro Bowl. Get rid of that game and just give me a real game.
Yeah, agreed. They should have the 2 last place teams in the league play each other for the first overall pick.
Dude, or relegation. If they added relegation into the NFL, and then bring up like Nebraska or like, you know, Alabama or something to replace them.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. Yeah, man, it's this is why the NFL is the crown jewel of the big 4 sports leagues, because it's once a week and it's such a short season, such a long off season. So you really just have to immerse yourself in it when the season's going on.
Exactly. It's the only league that can get like Taylor Swift to come out. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Well, another week of talking about Taylor Swift, but we're going to save the Taylor Swift chat for later because Bryan, when I sat down today and was like, what do we start with? What do we lead the show with? It's pretty obvious that the lead story this week, in my opinion, is the Buffalo Bills. It's so funny talking about immersing yourself in the NFL season. It's so funny how we were on here 3 weeks ago after the week 1 loss to the Jets, and we're like, oh my God, same bad habits from last season. Josh Allen's stupid decision making. Stephon Diggs wants out. Sean McDermott is an idiot. And here we are 3 weeks later, and by my estimation, they're the best team in the AFC and probably the second best team in the league at this point in time.
I still give it to the 49ers, you're right, but they're coming up there. I owe Sean McDermott a massive apology because I've been saying for 2 years, get him out of here, get him out of here. His defense is really working. And you saw that against Miami. The pressure they were getting on Tua, the disruption with Tyreek Hill's game, like that offense couldn't really get humming. They had their 2 drives were good at the start of the game, and then they went, I think, nine drives without a touchdown. So that just shows you how well the defense is humming. I haven't seen a defense on the Bills like this since before they had a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty exciting to see that. And plus with all the offense we're getting now too.
And Josh Allen back to MVP caliber play.
Yeah, like on Sunday, his play was insane. 21 for 25, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, more touchdowns than incompletions. He had a rushing touchdown as well, he is just a fantasy like numbers machine. This guy is crazy. Mm-hmm. And he's so much fun to watch. Like he was very composed. He wasn't doing crazy sort of Josh Allen like panic plays. And it actually was it was probably his most complete game.
Yep. That game also hit the over.
It did.
Like halfway through the 3rd quarter.
I know that was the only bet of mine that hit last week, but I was very happy. I told you that over should have been 60.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting watching, like going into the game. There were a lot of U.S. football pundits who took the Bills because they were like, the Bills know how to play the Dolphins. And in my mind, I was going, yeah, but I felt like this was a different Dolphins team this year. And I still think that. I think they're better than they are last year. But yeah, there's just something about Sean McDermott's just got this figured out. And Josh Allen just knows how to play against the defense, the Buffalo defense. And it started off kind of back and forth slugfest, and then the Bills just took a stranglehold and it turned into an ass kicking.
And that's what the defense sort of does. Like, it takes them a few plays to figure out how the offense is humming, and Sean McDermott's probably cooking up new things. Ed Oliver was a beast. He went out injured in the first, and I was getting a little nervous about that. And he just came back and started throwing Tua around like a toy. He was killing him. That whole defensive front is just, they were on such a high energy kind of game, and they just didn't stop. Even saw in the fourth quarter, they were putting on pressure still like mad and getting so hyped. Ed Oliver just doing his little dance after the sack, and I just love to see it.
You got to wonder now, it'll be interesting to see how other teams play the Dolphins now after getting that Bills tape and seeing if the Dolphins can maintain their sort of offensive dominance going forward after watching how Sean McDermott attacked Tua.
Because, yeah, like, I've also been hard on Ken Dorsey. He called probably the best game he's ever called for Allen. But you're right. I think Mike McDaniels I think he can figure something out. He's one of the smartest coaches I've ever seen, especially on the offensive end. But they need to work on their defense, because that's how they're getting gashed.
Speaking of the defense, how are we feeling about the Tre'Davious White ACL?
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. I feel so bad for him. He had the knee injury a couple years ago. It took him a while to come back. He had a very, very hard road, and now he's got the ACL on the right knee. And it's just, you got to feel for the guy, because he was starting to play really well in kind of like vintage Tre'Davious White style, getting interceptions. You know, he was getting up there in the corner conversation in the league, and it's just such a shame to see him go down. The Bills, they have some depth, but that kind of hit in a secondary is tough.
Another Achilles.
I know. Achilles are that's the thing of the season right now.
It is the thing of the season right now. Like,
is that number 3?
Yeah, like big name players going down with Achilles injuries.
Is it the NFL needs to take a look at all of their surfaces, how these guys are training, because to lose players like this, it's just sad.
Well, the Packers star lineman David Bakhtiari was very vocal about this after Rodgers got hurt about turf. Yeah. Now he doesn't want to play on turf. Now they were in Orchard Park, which isn't turf, but you're right. I do think there's probably an inconsistency amongst surfaces throughout the league and stadiums throughout the league.
I agree. I think the NFL should just do it would only cost them $12 million to get all stadiums fully grassed.
I think so. I don't know.
I think they should just do that, because that's pocket change.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure there's a logistical issue as to why that can't happen, but that's a conversation for people who are much smarter than you and I, Brian.
Yeah, definitely not me.
Definitely not. Okay, we need to backtrack a little bit here with our Week 4 review and talk about Thursday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers getting their asses handed to them by the Detroit Lions, 34-20. I'm going to make this short and sweet. This was a coming back down to earth in a way, because if you're a level-headed Packer fan like myself, you knew that this was going to happen with such a young team at some point. I think there is no doubting anymore that the Detroit Lions are the best team in the division and should run away with the NFC North. But I do think there's questions. I follow a lot of the Green Bay beat media reporters, and there are a lot of questions being asked right now about, first of all, Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator, and how for the 3rd straight year under him, this team cannot stop the run. Absolutely cannot stop the run. And there are questions of Matt LaFleur and this sort of soft teams take on the persona of their head coach. The Detroit Lions are no better example. There's no better example than the Detroit Lions, rather. And Matt LaFleur, the Packers are a soft football team, and they've been soft. And I think Jordan Love's a young quarterback who this was the first game that they have some injuries to the offensive line. And this is the first game that he really was pressured a lot. And you could tell he didn't really know how to adjust to that. Like in the first half of the game, I was literally watching and screaming at my television going, move your feet, like move your feet. Like your line is caving like crazy and you're just standing there trying to fight. It's like, move your feet, get out of the pocket. Like, I don't think Jordan Love is a Lamar Jackson, but the guy has legs, run.
Yeah, you can't look like 45-year-old Tom Brady when you're
No.
20, 25, 26.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. So there's a lot of questions being asked in Green Bay right now. I think there's a lot of overreaction. Listen, this is a young team. They're gonna finish like 9-8, like that's probably where they're gonna finish. That
Yeah.
might be good enough to get into the playoffs in the NFC, and might not. But whatever, it is what it is. But they do need to address the run defense, because the Green Bay Packers defense is loaded with first round picks. There is no reason why they should be getting gashed game in and game out like that.
Especially David Montgomery. He put up some stats
Oh
that
my
game.
God, he
Yeah.
sure did. He sure
3
did.
touchdowns.
And the game they lost to the Falcons, you came out of that game going, "Oh, the Falcons running back Bijan Robinson is special." Right? But and I'm not saying he isn't. He's a special player and will go down as like a superstar in the league when his career is all said and done. I'm not doubting that for a second. But man, oh man, other teams have been able to stop him.
Yeah, they've looked pretty bad. Like the Jags stopped them.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not gonna overreact. I think this is a young football team that has a long way to go, but Matt LaFleur needs to be held accountable for not firing Joe Barry, and he needs to be held accountable for the Packers are always good. Even when Aaron Rodgers was here, they're always good for 1 to 2 games a season where they just get their doors blown off. That happens every year.
The Bills have the same problem, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
So I think that's something they need to take away and examine. But level-headed, like I said, best case scenario, I honestly believe for this team this year is 9-8, and that's just the facts.
Which is still that's not bad for a rookie QB, but
no, and just it is what it is. Just let him do his thing, and just don't get the defense figured out, and that should be number one priority for the Green Bay Packers.
I think they rushed back Aaron Jones too fast for this game. He didn't look good.
They barely used him. That's another thing too. They barely used him. Thank you for reminding me of that. They barely used him. And Matt LaFleur is just so hell-bent on making A.J. Dillon work. But it's like, okay, A.J. Dillon is a power running back. So he's only effective when he's running downhill through guys. He's too big and too thick to start cutting. Like the second you see Jordan Love hand the ball to A.J. Dillon and he cuts to the side, you're like, okay, well, this is 1 yard. Like, this is like nothing's happening here. Like, the only way this guy does anything is if the offensive line can create a hole that he can run through. That's the type of running back he is. Aaron Jones is skilled enough and athletic enough that he can cut and bob and weave and whatever. A.J. Dillon is not that kind of runner. And Matt LaFleur needs to stop trying to make him that kind of runner, because he's not.
You're right, because Aaron Jones only had 5 carries. So, yeah, I mean, he got 18 yards, which I'll take back my statement. That's not bad for 5 carries. But, yeah, use him more. A.J. Dillon we've seen that show a million times. Like, you're right. He's basically a glorified fullback.
Yeah, so the Packers' schedule right now is really interesting. They're really banged up, especially on the offensive line, like really banged up. So they have like basically a mini bye, because they're going Thursday night football to Monday night football. And then they have a full bye for week 6. So they're playing 1 game in the span of almost 3 weeks.
So they should be well rested when they come
this
back.
Is the perfect time for that to come, when their offensive line has just been demolished by injuries.
Yeah. And that's the worst thing. Like, when your offensive line gets demolished, you have no run game. So
all you got, if you want to talk about what happens when your offensive line stinks, look no further than the New York Giants.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, let's in time, Brian, in time.
Yeah.
Next game on the docket, the Baltimore Ravens defeat the Cleveland Browns 28-3. Someone named Dorian Thompson Robinson was playing quarterback.
Yeah, he's not the guy.
Yes,
Clearly not
for
the guy.
Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski came out after this game and said Deshaun was cleared to play.
So why didn't he play?
I don't know. I'm sure that is causing. I'm sure there is
some problems.
some chat going on in that Cleveland Browns dressing room right now.
I think there's some problems behind the scenes there. I'm sure players are getting fed up playing with him.
But this was a big win for the Ravens because it kind of cements them as like the front running team in the NFC and the AFC North, excuse me, because now the Browns are 2-2, the Steelers are 2-2, and the Bengals are 1-3.
And Lamar Jackson again looked really good. Like he played really well in this game. He was doing it through the air. He's doing it with his legs. They had a great game plan, and they just took it so hard to the Browns.
Brian, I've said this. I've gone on this rant numerous times on this podcast that when you have a star quarterback, you need to do everything. You need to just put all of your resources into getting the most out of your star quarterback. And the Ravens waffled on this for a while, but this year they're committed to just, this is Lamar's show, and we're going to let it be Lamar's show. And guess what? They're probably going to win the division.
And if they did this like 2 years ago, I think the Ravens would have been talked about kind of in the Bills sort of stratosphere at the start of this year and last year. It's just they were dicking him around, and now it's taken this long to get to where they're at.
Yes. So hats off to the Ravens because that's what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, they did it right. They gave him weapons.
We touched on it just now, but I want to elaborate a little more on the Cincinnati Bengals losing 27-3 to the Tennessee Titans, moving to 1-3. Joe Burrow just is a shell of himself. Honestly, if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I know you just gave Burrow the bag, but if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm having a long look in the mirror right now and going, let's rest. Let's make sure playing Joe Burrow right now and risking further, more serious injury is the dumbest thing you could do. You're 1-3. The chances of making the playoffs are pretty hard. I know if there's a guy who can do it, it's Joe Burrow, but let's be honest, it's probably not happening. So let's take him out. And if you lose some games, you get a higher draft pick and you can get another good player to add to this Cincinnati Bengal roster on the cheap and come back next year fully healthy and loaded and ready to go.
I agree. Like I think he's ignoring the advice from the doctors, and they said that the decision's on him to play or not, and he's choosing to play because he's Joe Burrow, the tough guy. Yeah. But I agree with you, Rob. Like he's just got to bite it and sit down and just let the team sort of lose, and maybe they can pull off a couple wins without him. They just need a healthy quarterback that can move when there's pressure. And
100%.
That's not Joe Burrow right now. He's kind of stuck with his leg injury. So when pressure's coming at him, he can't really do much.
Yes, and if you get hurt further, they're screwed. They're screwed.
This is your franchise guy for the next 10 years. Do not risk anything. Like when Allen was hurt last year, I said, sit him down. I don't care. I don't care if we lose 4 games in a row, but luckily he's still good now, but it made me very nervous.
I think it's still early in the season, and I think the Bengals are a franchise that was a pretty embarrassing franchise for a really long time. And since they've drafted Joe Burrow, they've been in the they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They went to the AFC Championship game last year. Like it's so I think that as an organization, they're probably really reluctant to like accept the reality. But I don't know. Like I said, like sit them down. Play out the string. You'll get a mid to high pick and another good player that you can add to this team, and you'll be right back next year in the conversation.
Exactly. And what do you think about Jamar Chase's comments too? He seemed pretty upset.
Yeah, I think he's
in a contract year though. He's in a contract year and he's not getting catches.
But again, these guys, this is the first time he's gone through something like this.
Yeah, I know. Because at LSU, it was just.
That's why I don't think he's shit talking Joe Burrow. Like him and Burrow's his guy. Like I think he's just expressing general frustration with what's going on with the offense. And you're right, he's in a contract year, so he's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, he's like, I need at least 1,000 yards.
Yes. So we will keep an eye on the Cincinnati Bengals as we go on here. Who's the Cincinnati Bengals next game? Oh, the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals proved a few weeks ago that they're not the pushover everyone thought. I mean, they're not an elite playoff team, but they are certainly not the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, they're 2-2, and they haven't had 2 games with only 3 points this year, so they could do some damage.
Yeah. Moving on, the Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Washington Commanders 34-31. I won some money on this game because I saw the spread at the the Commanders +9.
Oh,
And the Commanders are a team that has always played the Eagles tough, a divisional rival. And so that was easy money when I saw that.
I agree. That's one of the I can't believe I didn't take that bet on my last round, but
Yeah.
that is, and the Commanders are getting disrespected. I think they're actually a very good team. They played Philly really well.
Yep.
And this game was kind of down to the wire.
The Eagles are 4-0, but they haven't looked great.
But I think this is better for them because last year they were dominating teams,
Yes.
and that showed in the Super Bowl. Now they're winning tight games, so I think this is better for them.
I also think there's an adjustment that's happening with now that Shane Steichen is gone.
Yeah.
I think there's an adjustment that's happening on the offense. And I think they're a team that will be there come playoff time and will be, you're right. I think when we get into November, December, I think the Eagles will start to round into form and they'll be
Yeah.
another team that's a legit Super Bowl contender as we move closer to the playoffs.
And the fact that they have DeAndre Swift now, it's getting unfair with some of these teams.
Yes, I know. But hey, man, Sam Howell and the Commanders, like they push them to the limit. The Commanders, like, they're a scrappy team.
They are scrappy. They got great defense, and you're right. Sam Howell had a great bounce back game. The game against the Bills was really bad for him, so he showed that he can come back and be a full-time quarterback. So look out for the Commanders. Don't sleep on them.
The Chicago Bears blow a lead to Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. I think there is no disputing now that the worst team in the National Football League is the Chicago Bears.
14 straight losses.
Yep.
14 in a row. That's almost like the Browns 16-0 season. That's pretty impressive.
And I got to tell you, man, I feel really, really bad for Justin Fields. Like, listen, Justin Fields makes some bonehead decisions out there when you watch. And he's like, I'm not saying he is free of any blame, but man, like, they just drafted him and they've bungled his development, and that organization from top to bottom is just such a tire fire. It's like, I don't know. I don't know.
I agree, because like Justin Fields played pretty good in this game. He had a great start. I think it's all to do with coaching. The coaching is very confusing. Like the 4th and 1 play, when they needed just to get a yard, they line up in shotgun to do a run play. So basically you're adding 5 more yards to your 1 yard. It's the most ridiculous thing. Why don't you just kick a field goal there and get a 3-point lead?
I don't know. Early in that game when the Broncos were down, I was going, oh my God, we may see Sean Payton's head pop off his body.
I would have loved that.
But to their credit, they battle back. They are the better of the two teams. One of the things about the Bears is they're probably going to finish last. I'm thinking they're a best case scenario. They're a 3-win team this year. Best case. So they're probably going to get the first overall pick, which will be Caleb Williams.
You have to take Caleb. You have to.
No, but Brian, I listened to a ton of football pods of people who know way more about college football and what's going on than I do. And I've heard from multiple different places that Caleb Williams and his camp are not going to a tire fire, dumpster fire organization.
Which is smart, because Caleb Williams is he has the, I guess, the aura around him now where he can make his own decisions on where he's going. He can pull an Eric Lindros and just say, nope.
Yeah. Like if you're him, I'm not going to this organization. Look at what you just did to this guy, Justin Fields. Like, you
look at what they've always done to their quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky, Jay Cutler, like they ruined all these guys.
Yeah. Like what are you doing?
It's just that organization is I feel actually the worst for their fan base, because they've been sold a pipe dream like every year that we're going to have a team now. We got Justin Fields, blah, blah, blah. Worst team in the league by far.
Yeah, it is. You just reminded me of Mitchell Trubisky.
Remember him?
Oh my God. Like, oh my God. He was drafted 2nd overall in the 2017 draft by the Chicago Bears.
Do you know who was drafted after him?
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh man, imagine like the Bears.
Deshaun Watson. Like I know Deshaun Watson. Like now at this point in time, you're like, dodged a bullet. But at the time,
yeah, especially with their defense they had when Mitch was there, they could have won like 2 Super Bowls.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's all you need to know. And I do not begrudge Caleb Williams' camp at all. If they are like, I am not reporting to this organization. Hell no.
I love it. Like that's such a power move. And if I was in his position, I would just say, you know what? I'll take another year in college. I'm not interested in this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What?
Because he's getting paid millions to play college anyways. He might as well go back. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm not like when you're the first overall pick, you're going to a team that underachieved anyway. But you can go to a team where they have pieces in place and are trying to like turn it around. That is like not the Chicago Bears.
No, like the Chicago Bears, what they need to do is look at the Texans and just do what the Texans are doing.
Yes, that's exactly what they need to do. That's a great example. Oh, all right. I've actually been really excited to talk to you about this today. I think it's time. I don't think this is going to happen. I know for a fact this is not going to happen. But I think it's time for Bill Belichick to look at himself in the mirror and go, until I get some new modern assistant coaches around me, I'm going to like the New England Patriots are awful.
And the Patriot Way doesn't seem to be working anymore.
No, Mac Jones is awful. And now you have pundits on US shows everywhere saying it's done deal. It's concluded. It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the reason why they had success all those years. And you can't dispute that now. And one thing, Tom Brady's like play at the quarterback position and ability to rise to the occasion and win big games is what made him a legend. But Tom Brady was the one who established the Patriot Way culture, not Bill Belichick.
You're right. He was their like general kind of guy. He would run the room. He would take Bill's message and make sure the guys heard it.
Yes.
These guys don't respect Mac Jones. And it's the same thing with Zach Wilson and the Jets. Like they're not being respected by their teammates. And it looks like everybody just hates him.
And it's just like Bill Belichick was always thought of as this sort of defensive guru. And their defense is bad. And it's just like he's I don't know what he's doing. Like you look at the team and it's like the situation last year with having Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as co-offensive coordinators. He brings back Billy O, who's better than those two, but like he's still not like Billy O. Like he could have gone and got like a younger, more kind of modern offensive mind that has got his kid as the defensive coordinator. Like it's like what is going on?
I feel like he's not even trying anymore because like especially with Bill O'Brien that hire, like you got to get somebody like a Mike McDaniels. You got to get somebody from that sort of offensive new age. And the Patriots look like they're from like 2002 right now.
I know, and it's like if this season goes this way. If I'm Bob Kraft, I'm sitting him down. I'm sitting him down and going, it's time for you to retire. And we're going to put out an announcement that say that you're retiring, but you're fucking fired because this is brutal.
It has to happen. Like I thought it should happen last year. I was saying, Bill, like you've won 6 Super Bowls. Like what's the point of doing all this, especially with Mac Jones? So I think Robert Kraft is just going to lay down the law this year or next year. I think he maybe give him one more year.
And Mac Jones isn't very good. But when Mac Jones came into the league, he was better than he's almost regressed. And I think as much as Josh McDaniels is proving that he's not very good as a head coach of an organization, I think as a coordinator, he was pretty good, and he's good at like probably at drawing up plays and doing that kind of thing. So when he was with Josh McDaniel was able to make Mac Jones look a little more competent, excuse me. since then, he's gotten worse. He's regressed.
Because he had designed plays for Mac Jones' strengths. It just seems like they just want him to be Tom Brady, and that's not him.
No, I know. So I really like, they got their asses kicked by the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday.
38-3, like that is just that's no mercy.
The late window on Sunday turned into like, it was 3 blowouts by the half. It turned in, the early window on Sunday was fantastic, but the late window was kind of a snoozer.
You're right, yeah. And after the Bills-Dolphins game, I was just kind of so hyped up that I missed some of those games. I was just running around screaming.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was kind of like, it was just blowout after blowout. And then, I mean, the primetime game was okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the last game I wanted to elaborate on. Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs defeating the New York Jets 23-20. This was the Taylor Swift broadcast. They had Welcome to New York playing into the show. My wife was sitting watching the game with me. Like, they've got Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively and Hugh Jackman.
Dude, Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine was there. I was like, what's happening?
I know. And they're just cutting to her nonstop. But the story of this game on the other side was Aaron Rodgers walking around. You can just see when he's walking on the sideline, he's asking for ball to throw it. He's just dying to get out there. Zach Wilson, they found something with Zach Wilson in this game. Do I think that the Jets are going to go on and their season is going to be turned around? No. Do I think that Zach Wilson is all of a sudden going to become an elite quarterback in this league? No. But he had moments in this game where he didn't look completely and utterly inept. So they need to walk away and say, what worked here? And do more of that. And from just my sort of eye watching and not knowing any of the inner workings of the New York Jets offense, they seem to sort of take the reins off him a little bit and just let him play. And he because one thing Zach Wilson does have is an arm.
And he can run the ball too, like you saw in the game. So if they can strategize their game plan to his strengths instead of Aaron Rodgers' strengths, I think he would have had a much better start to the season. And now they're kind of figuring that out now, because just think about this. If you're Taylor Swift, this is your second game watching football. You probably think Zach Wilson's like the best quarterback of all time after seeing him against Mahomes, because Mahomes was really bad in that game. Like,
well, we're going to talk about him in a second, but I think you just hit on something there. I think this offense was completely designed by Nate Hackett and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And now they've kind of had to go back to the drawing board and say, Zach Wilson is nowhere close to Aaron Rodgers. And Zach Wilson, probably playing at his best, is not the same type of quarterback as Aaron Rodgers. So we need to sort of go back to the drawing board here and come up with things that can help Zach Wilson excel. Because the New York Jets defense is elite.
Oh, very elite, especially what they did to Mahomes and that offense. They proved that they're one of the most elite in the league.
What you said earlier about the Philadelphia Eagles is, sadly, I think also applies to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Kansas City Chiefs haven't looked great through their first 4 games. Like, they lost to the Lions. They had that kind of come from behind janky win against the Jags. They beat the Chicago Bears, but like, it's the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, they pummeled them, but yeah.
And then everyone this week thought they were going to go out and stomp the Jets, and that's not what happened. And Mahomes, that was one of the worst games you'll ever see Patrick Mahomes play on Sunday night. And so I think the Chiefs are a team like the Eagles. Come November, December, they'll be right back to where the Kansas City Chiefs, we are the gold standard of the NFL.
They will be in the AFC Championship. Like, I know that, barring any injuries. But you're right. Patrick Mahomes had one of the worst games I've seen him play, and they still managed to get a win. So this team it's well built and they're well coached.
100%. All right, let's finish it up with a little around the horn for week 4. Touch on some of these other games really quickly. Falcons, Jaguars in London, England. Bryan, did you watch any of the Toy Story feed of this game?
I was going to say that feed it started off a little rough. They couldn't get it going at first, but once it was going, it was the exact same as the live feed. It was pretty cool.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
That speed line that goes behind the runners, I kind of like that.
If you had a little kid and you wanted to watch your football games, that's that's compromise right there.
A lot of my dad friends were like, dude, it was the best because like the wife and kids came in and like we're all watching football together and like they don't
Yeah.
really know it's football, but now they're getting hooked.
They think they're watching Toy Story, but they're actually
Yeah.
watching an NFL game.
That's just show the NFL is just so dominant. They're just getting they're getting Taylor Swift's category or demographic now. Now they're getting young kids with the Toy Story stuff. They're pretty smart.
The LA Rams defeat the Indianapolis Colts 29-23. The Colts are the Rams to me are a team that I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. Like that division is actually pretty interesting because the Niners obviously are going to run away and be the 1 seed in the NFC. But I think the Rams and the Seahawks are kind of on the same playing field.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a battle. That'll be a battle down the line to see who finishes second in that division.
I do like Puka Nacua. That guy's really good.
This guy just fell out of the sky and is setting NFL records.
Yeah, he had 163 yards in that game too as a rookie. So he's really fun to watch. I wonder if that's going to change when Cooper Kupp comes back, though. I'm sure.
Well, yeah. Like honestly, though, it should help. It should help Puka Nacua because all the best guys will be on Cooper Kupp,
or vice versa. Like now, people know about Puka Nacua. It might open up Kupp when he comes back.
The Indianapolis Colts are a team that I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year, but they seem to have hit on a good quarterback in Anthony Richardson, and the future looks bright.
Yeah, he's progressing well. So that you're right.
The Minnesota Vikings come back and defeat the Carolina Panthers 21-13. The Carolina Panthers are another team that are going to finish near the bottom of the league this year. They just don't have a lot of weapons.
What's your temperature on Bryce Young so far?
He looks so tiny back there.
He does.
God, yeah. He looks like scrawny.
If I was a Panthers fan, I don't know how I would feel right now as him as my quarterback one. Like I don't see him being able to be an NFL full-time quarterback.
Well, listen, the Carolina Panthers, they keep losing. Maybe they'll be in the Caleb Williams discussion and you can just start all over again. The Vikings are, I maintain this. The Vikings are such a funny team because last year they weren't as good as their record. And this year, I don't think they're as bad as their 1-3 record, but it's funny. You can see the Kirk Cousins page starting to turn in Minnesota. They're really starting to, okay, that's enough Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
That's another team too that like as the season goes on here, if they keep losing, it's time to make a choice about how you want to go down the rest of the season with such a stacked draft class next year.
Especially, with Justin Jefferson, like having Kirk Cousins is such a shame because with any other elite quarterback, his numbers would be out of this world. Like if they had Josh Allen, his numbers would be stupid.
Oh yeah. Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the New Orleans Saints 26-9. Baker Mayfield is 3-1. That is, to me, that is one of the more surprising things thus far in this season is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sitting atop the NFC South.
That's their division. That was like a divisional game too. One thing, I hate watching Derek Carr. Can we just get him out of the league? I'd rather see Jameis Winston all day long. Give me Jameis, 3 picks, 380 yards. I would watch that any day of the week.
I have never seen a quarterback get so much like hype for achieving nothing in his career.
I know.
Quite like Derek Carr.
Like that Hard Knock season when he was on there too, it was just he had so much hype about him, but when it was clear that the Raiders were moving on from him, the discussion in the offseason, well, Derek Carr is going to become available and he's going to listen. I know in the league you want a guy who's competent at playing the position, and Derek Carr is that. But what has Derek Carr ever won? And he won't do any spectacular plays to get you a win either. He's just going to be the same sort of middle of the range quarterback that's not going to do anything out of his comfort zone.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. The Chargers defeat the Raiders 24-17. The Raiders are bad. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell playing quarterback because surprise, surprise, Jimmy Garoppolo's hurt. The Chargers are another team. It's like The Chargers need to take a page out of the Ravens playbook. I've said it 100 times. Like, you need to get rid of Brandon Staley. You need to bring in an offensive coach. You need to just devote everything in your organization to Justin Herbert, and you need to do it now.
Dude, vintage Cleo Mack that game, though. He was eating people alive.
49ers beat the Cardinals 35-16. Niners are a wagon.
Christian McCaffrey is just
he's a cheat code. He's a cheat code.
Yeah.
He's a cheat code. 4
touchdowns. Do you see that one hurdle he did into the end zone too? Like over that guy, then another like 15-yard run to the end zone.
Yep. He's a cheat code. He's not fair. He's not fair.
So stupid watching this guy play, but I love it.
I skipped over one 1 o'clock game, the final 1 o'clock game. The Houston Texans defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-6. CJ Stroud.
And this is what we were talking about with the Bears. They need to look at the Texans, look at what they're doing with CJ Stroud, because the Texans have made they hired the right coach. They have a winning culture now, and CJ Stroud is looking good.
Yes, very impressive. And on the flip side, all this talk in the offseason about Kenny Pickett, I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm just shocked that Matt Canada is still employed in the NFL. After watching that game too, like their run game's so confusing. It doesn't look like they know how to run.
Final game, Monday Night Football. The Seattle Seahawks defeat the New York Giants 24-3. The New York Giants. Oh man. I don't know. Like there's so many things wrong here. The offensive line is awful.
Yeah. Daniel Jones is awful.
Daniel Jones is awful. And Brian Daboll looks like he's ready to, if he had any hair, he looked like he'd be ready to pull it out.
He's been looking like a peach too with how red his face is getting when he's that angry. You know what, Brian, you can just come back to the Bills. We'll take you right back as an offensive coordinator.
I heard an interesting take on a show I was listening to this morning, actually, that because they gave Daniel Jones the bag and they're locked into him, what if Brian Daboll just resigns at the end of the season?
I could see that because, like, when you watch Daniel Jones play, he's one of the worst quarterbacks throwing wise.
And if I would be, I think it's a pretty safe bet that the Los Angeles Chargers could potentially be looking for a new head coach next season. And if you're Brian Daboll, that's the job, because that's the quarterback.
Dude, I would not like that if he went to Herbert. I would not like that.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily disagree with the resign from the Giants take.
No. If I was him, that's what I would do. Especially if that job's opening up, he'd be hired in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and he would be perfect. You saw what he did with Josh Allen. He'd be perfect for Justin Herbert. Perfect.
Oh man, that team would turn around, I think.
Oh, and that's week 4. Week 4, and now we move on to week 5. And I don't know what better way to kick off our week 5 discussion than with this week's edition of Brian's Bets. That's right. It is Brian's Bets. Here we go. Brian, this is how it works. You tell me your 4 favorite picks of the week, and I say if I'm going to ride with you or if I am chickening out. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. So what we do is I do a favorite, a favorite underdog, a favorite over, and a favorite under. So
take her away.
So to start, my favorite for this week is the Baltimore Ravens over the Pittsburgh Steelers at -3.5. This line was originally at 5 when I took it, and then it went down to 3.5. So I'm just throwing everything on this bet. I think the Ravens are going to destroy the Steelers.
Why is this number so low?
It confused me because when I checked it again today, it had gone down to 3.5, and I don't really understand why.
Yeah, I don't really understand why either. Maybe because they think the Steelers they're giving the Steelers defense a lot of respect here.
For sure, and the Steelers are usually good after a bad loss. So yeah. I can kind of see it, but the Ravens, the way they're playing, I don't think the Steelers stand a chance.
And I don't see a world where the Steelers can score points against the Ravens. No. I just don't. Like the Steelers offense, you just talked about Matt Canada. Like I don't see it happening either. So
3.5.
I'm going to ride with you on this one. Yeah. I'm going to ride with you on this one. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So the favorite underdog of this week is the Carolina Panthers over Detroit, and that's at +9.5. I think Detroit is winning this game by either a field goal or a touchdown. but I do expect to see a lot more from the Panthers this week. Because Detroit is also very up and down.
This one, yes. This one genuinely confounds me because I have zero faith in the Carolina Panthers offense, but that's a huge number.
It is 9.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm going to chicken out with you on this one just because I do not trust the Carolina Panthers offense.
That is fair. This one's kind of like a reach in my eyes, but I don't know. I think that the Panthers are going to play well against Detroit.
Yeah, and the Panthers are due. That much is true.
And Detroit does this thing where they have a great win and they come out flat. So it might be a field goal or a touchdown for this victory.
Yep.
All right. So my favorite over of the week, I'm going with the Philly Los Angeles game, Los Angeles Rams over 50.5. I think those two teams can just put up points.
I think this is a safe bet as well. I think the Eagles, like I think these two teams, you're right, will have no issue moving the ball. So I'm gonna ride with you on this one.
The Eagles do have a good defense, but the Rams have been showing that they can move the ball pretty efficiently.
Puka Nacua.
Oh, Puka, he's my boy. Puka Nacua, baby.
Puka Nacua.
All right, so my favorite under for this week, I'm doing New Orleans versus New England under 40.5. I think this should be at 36.
Bryan, this is a slam dunk.
Yeah.
This is as slam dunk as it gets. The Patriots offense is horrendous. The Saints offense is horrendous.
Derek Carr versus Mac Jones.
I think that this of the 4 picks you have outlined this week, to me, this one is the undisputed slam dunk of the 4.
Especially when I saw it over 40, I was like, man, there's no chance they're even making 30 in this game.
100% agree. 100% agree. There you go. That is this week's edition of Bryan's Bets. Before we get out of here, a couple more games for week 5 I wanted to highlight, and you have to start with Sunday Night Football. Cowboys at 49ers.
This is the game of the year.
This is the game of the year thus far. This is going to be so interesting.
I have a feeling. I think the 49ers are just going to roll them, though.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I think we're going into this and we're like, the Cowboys have looked good except for the Arizona loss. But the Niners, man, like, and the Niners defense against Dak Prescott, like, I don't see a world where, unless the only chance the Cowboys have, I think, in potentially winning this game is if Micah Parsons can be an absolute disruptor and get in Brock Purdy's face and make Brock Purdy's night miserable. That is the only, and basically prevent the Niners from scoring points. But then Brock Purdy is just going to turn and hand the ball off to that cheat code, Christian McCaffrey. You know what? Yep. He's the offense. Like everyone's going, oh, Brock Purdy, he's doing so well, and he is. But Christian McCaffrey is the engine of this 49ers offense.
I feel like I could play quarterback for the 49ers and we would have like a win this year because of that offense. And like they're not even using Kittle right now. They have George Kittle.
Yes.
So it's like that team's stacked, man.
Another game that I actually think is interesting is Chiefs Vikings, because I think this is a big game for the Vikings to try and get another one in the win column. And I think the Chiefs, as we talked about not too long ago, they haven't looked great.
I agree, and they're only favored at -5.5. I think I would ride with the Vikings.
Yeah, so I think the Chiefs will win, but I think the Vikings, like, this is the Vikings, like I said a few minutes ago, like they're a loss or two away from having to evaluate what they want to do for the rest of this season.
Exactly, yeah, and I think, because Patrick Mahomes had a slump for like 4 games last year. He tends to go down for a couple games in a row, so this might be an easy victory for the Vikings.
Will you be getting up early to watch the Buffalo Bills in England?
Yes.
Yes.
That's not even a question.
Are
they going to give us the Toy Story stream again? I'll watch that.
I don't think so. I haven't seen any, because they were leading up to that Falcons Jags game. They were promoting the hell out of the Toy Story stream. I haven't seen that.
They should just do that for all London games. I think that'd be fun.
The Bills are the home team, and that actually bums me out because you're taking away a home game from Orchard Park.
I know, and like the Jags, that is their home. That's their second home in London. Let them just be the home team.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand, but I guess they didn't want to. I guess the Khan family or whatever. It's like if you're going to send us there for 2 straight weeks, we're only losing 1 home gate.
That makes sense. It's just when you think about the London games, it's only the Jags versus somebody.
Yes, it's true. All right, buddy. There it is. We're heading into week 5.
I'm excited.
Before you know it, it'll be playoff time.
Oh, not yet. We still got time.
We don't want to go there. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. We will be back to talk about week 5 next week. See you then.